Hey guys! So today we are going to talk about how to be a good junior. So let's get into it. Now, what do I mean by being a good junior? Well, I'm not talking about coding skills. I'm not talking about having knowledge above a junior level programmer. I'm not talking about being a genius at all. I'm talking about being a good junior from the perspective of your more senior colleagues. Now, this is one of them things that I think I need to explain to you in a little bit more detail than just stating, all right, these are the reasons and these are the ways that you can be a better junior. So today I was working with one of my coworkers, and my coworker is, by every definition of the word, a senior operations person. Now, I know enough about operations to manage and be a support type of person for fairly large scale systems, but I am by no means an expert on operations. So, I was presented with an issue and I was debugging it, and so I asked him a little bit about some input, if he could help me out with figuring out what this issue was all about. And he, as a very nice and friendly coworker, jumped in, started helping out a little bit. And it came to the point where he kind of figured out very quickly. Like, I had already done a bit of the prep work, and I said, I think that this is the issue. And he said, yeah, this seems to be the issue. And then he started using, I'm not going to bore you with all the tools and so forth, because there are quite a few of them that we use. And in a very short amount of time, it came to the situation where he was basically doing my job for me. I didn't want him to, and I told him, like you shouldn't, if you don't have time for this, let me just fix it and it will be done. And he's like, no, it's fine, I'll fix it. And so now he's in the driver's seats, and I simply watch him, and I try to remember, and I ask him questions about why is he looking into this, why is he doing that, and I'm trying to just understand how he thinks and how he's working and how, basically that's all I'm doing. And then we get to talking, and he says, I hope this is, it's okay that I'm helping you like this. And I said, yes, this is perfect, because I learned quite a lot from just watching you work and being able to ask you a few key questions when I see that you're making a technical decision, or when you're deciding to do one thing or check one thing, and then I can ask you things about, why are you looking at this thing here? What are you thinking? And as long as you communicate to me why you're doing something, I'm learning. And you see, this guy has been, well, I've told him many times that he could probably just live stream whatever he does, and people would actually find it very interesting and appreciate the knowledge that he can relay by simply doing the things that he does. He's never believed me, but I'm pretty sure that he could. And so I told him, the reason why I think this is because, you see, you may not be the sort of person who goes into a classroom and teaches, but you're an excellent mentor. And he goes, well, what do you mean by a mentor? Well, back in the day, it used to be the case that it was more common for people to be apprentices. In other words, if you wanted to be a blacksmith back in the day, you did not go to school to study to become a blacksmith. You would find a blacksmith and and hopefully that person would see potential in you, and there would be a mutual benefit, because if the blacksmith wants to expand or be more productive, he can provide you with some basic training, and you get the benefit of learning the craft, and the blacksmith gets the benefit of more productivity, if you will. And so you would become an apprentice. Now, being an apprentice is very different from the traditional way that we teach in schools today. And I told them, this is the way that such a position would work. The master would be just working as the master does. He would just be going to, he or she, kind of depends, would simply be doing their job. And it is the responsibility of the apprentice to observe and learn. That's it. It's not the master's responsibility to make sure that the apprentice gets a smooth ride or anything like that. It is on the apprentice's responsibility to be engaged, to observe, to learn, by simply being allowed to be close to a master blacksmith, for example, and getting some basic guidance and being able to pick the brain of the master. The apprentice should be able to start doing the same thing as the master. And my colleague, he kind of said, oh, I haven't really thought about it like that. And I said, no, I understand that. And I mean, I'm not saying that this is how it's always going to be. But for me, this is a very efficient way, at least personally, I think this is a very efficient way to learn for anybody. And for me, who is, I know a lot of different things, and I have things that I'm pretty good at, but this is something that I could improve in. And by just watching you work and being able to ask you questions about why you do one thing instead of another thing, I get answers to these questions. And if I watch you long enough, I will actually learn to think like you and do the things that you do. And that's how you be, that's personally how I think that you can be a very good junior. Because you see, it's not, as a junior, unfortunately, you have some way to go until you have the skills to be a master of the craft. And at the same time, you don't want to be in the position where you're constantly a burden to everybody and so forth. Because remember, when you go into a place of work, it is your responsibility, or let's call it an equal responsibility. It's the master's responsibility to answer your questions and provide you with the opportunity to improve yourself. But it's your responsibility to observe and learn and adopt the practices that you observe in the workplace. And to me, I honestly think that there's a lot of professions out there, operations being one of the most key one, at least if we just talk about programming, but there's tons of other professions where I think that this style of teaching is probably better than the traditional way that we teach. That's at least how I feel. So all I can say is that as somebody who has taught a few juniors out there, and as somebody who is a junior sometimes and has to be taught from other people, this method of working is actually something that I think that it's probably the best way to get up to scratch on things. So to me, this is the best way. This is how you can become a good junior, by respecting the time and appreciating the time that your more senior colleagues invest in you, and not get in there, like I'm not saying get in their way, because it's not about that. It's more about trying to observe them and learn from what they do and ask them questions about about things, as opposed to expecting you can't expect that because they have jobs as well, they have work to do as well. So the best thing for you is to just observe them as they do their job and learn from that, as opposed to forcing them to take time from their very busy schedule to come and kind of hold you by the hand. That's at least how I feel about it, and it's the way that I've found that I at least learn the quickest. Have a great day.